Good evening, welcome to another episode of Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, it says it right down there at the bottom of the screen, and I can see that we've already got some people waiting over there in the live chat. Welcome everybody, hope that you're all well. I've got Stafford, Causey and Kestin all saying hi, but it says that there's a few more viewers, so maybe we'll get a few more people in that live chat in just a moment. Haha69, think I'm missing out on something, don't really know what you're talking about, but hi to you both, thanks very much for stopping by. If you're new here to Easy 8, Easy 8 is not a tutorial painting channel or anything like that at all. There's loads of that already out there. This is merely a painting club, a social club, if you will, to come along, make new friends or join in with your friends and kind of talk about all the stuff that you're doing painting-wise. So if you've got something that you want to kind of talk about, you want to show off a little bit, maybe you want to kind of celebrate a victory, or you want to talk about some frustrations that you're having with your painting, this is the place to come and do it. And I'm going to be doing my stuff here as well. If you were on last week, you will know that I spent some time doing some 15mm tanks. Did a couple of weeks on those, had some small victories, which was really good. Started dry brushing them, which is something that I don't like to do on my tank builds. But for that particular scale, worked really, really well. Really impressed them looking at them now. Yep, they're top dollar, really good. But this week I really wanted to move on a little bit, so I'm going to be moving back over to 40k with my Tyranids, which is right here. Yeah, fantastic, my Trygon. Really looking forward to getting stuck into that beast. If you are working on anything this evening, then I would love to know what it is that you're working on. So if you are painting something, building something, or if it's just some kind of unassociated hobby with painting, let me know anyway. I'd love to know about it. So get chatting over there in the live chat and make some friends with these guys over there. Yeah, if you like what we do, you can follow us on Facebook. Point to the right one. We're here on YouTube, obviously, on Instagram as well, and also you can join us after the show on the Easy 8 After Party at Discord. And if you're interested in any of those, there is a link in the description just down there. And if you like what we do, then of course you can like, follow, and subscribe. And subscribing really helps me make this channel what it is. We're at an all-time high of 46 subscribers. Put my teeth back in. So thank you everybody who loves, who comes along and you know, puts the likes and the subscribes up there. Thanks for putting all your stuff up there, all your photos on Facebook. Kesha says, posted what I'm doing on the Facebook page. I'm really rushed around today. You might be able to tell because I'm spitting up my words. I've literally just crawled in from work. I was helping someone, I've really got to go, so if you could hurry up, that would be great. And I got in the door, set everything up, had to clean the airbrush, and I'm here. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in today's painting. So I'm just going to get stuck in right now because, yeah, looking forward to it. Here we go. Let's go straight over to the workbench. And hopefully the camera's working. It was being a little bit troublesome. Not entirely sure why. But my hands are there, so that's a good start. Wicked. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with it earlier on. I did a quick test just when I came in to sort everything out. And it decided it was going to flicker on and off, and then it stayed off. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know what's going on. I think it was just a temporary glitch on the computer, not really anything to do with the camera, because a few weeks ago you know that the cameras were so fun that I wasn't actually able to use one for an entire 2-hour episode. And that could have been no fun for anybody. It was great for me. I just carried on doing what I was doing. So yeah, lots of things that I want to do with this. What I think I'm going to start with today is just getting the majority of all the grey stuff rendered. And what I mean by rendered is I'm going to start kind of the colours all blocked in, block grey, but I'm going to start basically low lighting. So I'm going to start shading in with the black colour, which I've got just here. So I'm going to use the airbrush and really kind of get it into the creases, in the grooves, in like the overlaps of the plates, etc. And anywhere I want some shadow. Previously, I have been using by Ammo MIG the black ash black shader. This is an absolutely fantastic product, and you absolutely definitely want to be using an airbrush for this. It's too potent for a brush, although I have used it by brush for certain things. This is a great product in the fact that it's really intense, as you'd expect from an ink, but it also stays wet for a long period of time. So if you're working with other colours, you can blend it in. And I did that on my Carnifex model here, and it looks absolutely fantastic. This is a massive step up from any of my other works with greys, or any colours really. I really enjoyed that whole blending process. The reason I went for the shader was because I'd previously used Null Oil, which is the shade from Games Workshop or Citadel, and I have no end of problems with this colour. I don't know if it's just me or if it's everybody else. I know that some people do struggle with it, but the problems that I have with it, I just can't control it enough for it to be a viable thing for me. In most cases, I wasn't able to control it on the model on the Tyranids, so I went with the shader because I could apply it with an airbrush, get it in. It's just super intense. I wanted really intense lines, is what I wanted. But I thought, if I'm going to be using an airbrush, why not just go straight over to using the paint? So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to basically use paint on this model for all the black, just to compare it against the shader and see which one I prefer, see which one you prefer. I like all the projects that I do on Easy 8 to kind of be a bit of a community project, kind of get you guys involved at the same time. It's wonderful. You've made me make some good choices in the past, so perhaps once I've done this, you can go like, yeah, mate, we really like the shader, or we really like the paint. My airbrush was absolutely diabolical earlier on, because you know me, can't clean anything properly, or at least the airbrush anyway. So yeah, that was a bit of a rush, a bit of a fiasco. But as always, I am super stoked to be back in the studio. I'm just going to be putting a couple of drops in here, like maybe 3 or 4 for now. And I'm just going to see how I get on with that consistency. And if I want it to be thinner, then I can add some thinner if I want to. It's not coming through the airbrush just yet. Don't think I actually have my the nut tied up. So inside the airbrush, because I've been cleaning it, I didn't tighten up this bit, which actually controls the trigger action. So now I will. Nope, still not getting anything. I think my needle is a little bit jammed. There it is. It was a little bit jammed. It was in a bit too tight. There we go. Okay, let's try that now. There we go. Now I'm getting some colour. You can see it just coming out over here. I want to be as careful and as light as I possibly can be, because I really, really, really don't want to get any on any of the yellow. The yellow, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of done. There might be some touch-ups as I go, maybe with this colour. So I'm just going to start for now. Just going to position my lights a little bit better. Here we go. I'm just going to start in here for now. So it's well away from all the yellow area. It's the first kind of step, the level on the Carapace, and it doesn't really matter if I get it on the next layer over. I'm going to point in my airbrush a little bit, so I want to be getting right underneath this line here, but if it comes up onto this piece here, it doesn't matter, because I can just kind of go over it with a grey colour later on. I'm going to go more into my greys later, but I do have other dark colours that I can use for like rendering and shading and all sorts, but I just want to really get the black in there at the moment, just to see where it goes and see which I prefer, basically. I'm going to use the airbrush to get it into the splits, because if you look on the next level up, there are like splits in the Carapace, and I like those to be identified with a nice bit of shade. And it's intensity that I'm looking for here. There's a temptation to rush, because the airbrush, it's a bit like a rattle can, isn't it? You can just kind of get large areas done quite quickly. I'm going to take the needle protector off so that I can clean it easier, because it will build up a little bit as we start to go on. It's already looking really good. I like that intensity. This colour dries very, very quickly. It dries very, very matte, which is quite nice. Now obviously I'm going around that chimney in there as well. I'm going to do inside the chimney with it too. went a bit heavy there, so I'm just going to put a blast of air in there, move that around a little bit so they get a big blob. And give the needle a bit of a clean. One of the reasons why I like to add a bit of thinner with my airbrush paints is just because it helps it, well, stops it from drying so quickly. I've put paint retarder in there before, and it's a brush retarder, so it's really quite jelly. That's got in quite heavy. I have to clean it up a bit. Not a bad first go, really. I quite like that. Jeff says, oi oi, bit late, what have I missed? Hello, thanks very much for coming along. Nothing really, just me getting my words all wrong because I've been in a bit of a rush today. But basically today I'm just working on my Trygon, getting some shading rendered into my greys. I really like the way this is working. I'm going to carry on maybe on the next one. I'm thinking about putting some darker greys in to blend them. Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to do that. I was going to say that I was going to start painting in some darker greys because this is normally my darkest grey, but I want to kind of get extra layers of or gradients in there. So I'm going to use darker greys, but I think I'll just apply those and sort of use that over the black to blend them into the next layer of grey rather than adding a dark grey and then adding the black on top. I'll work backwards, I think. I think that'll just be a bit easier, a bit quicker perhaps. Yeah, really happy with the way that's looking. Going to go to the next layer now, the next level, the next step, the next piece of carapace, you know what I'm saying. Just going to turn my volume down on my headset a little bit because I find myself shouting a little. I am very excited, so I am a shouty person anyway. Trying to work out how far I want the grey to come out, sorry, the black to come out. I don't think I want it to come any further than that. I'm trying to not necessarily kind of create a pattern on the carapace, so I don't want it on all of the back edge. So like down here, for example, I might not do that. If I do, I'll do it by brush later. It's a bit too close to that yellow area. But I'm more trying to like create a sense of shadow and sort of disguise it a little bit as pattern. So yeah, just having a bit of free-form fun with it, really. It's really nice when it comes out really, really gently, but the paint does dry quite quick inside the nib there, so you can't keep that up, unfortunately. That's a good pace, I can work with that. It's really good already. Quite a lot of shadow going on here. I'm just going to move my lights into a position. Because I'm working with black, as soon as it goes into a shadowed area, it's really quite hard to see where my area of effect is. So yeah, keeping those lights in a good position is really important. There, that's good. I like that. That's a good effect there. paint's drying on the needle again. There we go. Need like a self-cleaning needle tip. That'd be really handy. There we go. That's really nice. I like it. Occasionally revisit an older piece and be like, actually, I just want that to be a bit more intense. That's good. Because it's a matte paint and not a shader ink, when it dries it does lose a little bit of its intensity, so it's important for me to just go back and have another pass if I feel like I need it. That's cool. Because my airbrush is quite old now and it's still got the same needle, and we all know that I've not used it well or looked after it all that well. It does have a certain amount of like spray mist overspray sometimes, like spatter, but at this point it doesn't really matter because, like I say, I'm going to go and neaten it up by brush and add in other grey effects, so that's no problem here. As long as I keep it controlled and it doesn't start going into areas where I don't want it to be, like on the yellow, for example. I quite like it when the black kind of comes down underneath the chimney. This one's quite a straight line here, but down here it kind of comes underneath a little bit, if you see what I mean. Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can get that black line to come down. Underneath that chimney a bit more. It'd be really nice if I can get it in around the bases of the chimneys as well. So that's going to be my next task. That looks really good. And I think in a minute I'll probably have a little play with the greys on this back piece and then move on to the tails, a separate kind of project on here. I think is probably what I would like to do. That's actually quite hard to spray in there because I'm getting so much backflow coming back out, so I'm going to avoid doing that by airbrush. I'll go in there with a brush later on. Lost control there, didn't I? See if I can bring it into frame. Oh, that paint's really drying almost now with every single spray. I'll give a good flush through with some cleaner in just a second. Make sure that the airbrush is still being maintained. You pain in the backside, you. Whew. Okay, it's not a shabby start at all, you know. Not at all. I like it. Still got a little bit of paint left in here. Quite a bit, actually. So I might, while I've got it, just move on to the tail down here. I don't want to waste anything if I get away with it, right? Oh, that's a runaway effect right there. It's coming out heavy. That's the perfect speed. The perfect kind of layer coming out there. If only it was that easy all the time. It's literally drying as I'm spraying. It is, to be fair, quite warm in this room. But there's very little I can do about that. Another big blob. I was concentrating there and everything. I was seeing how far I could get away. Jeff says that's the sort of model you could carry on painting for years. Well, yeah, you know, I could paint a simple rank and file miniature for years. So yes, for me, absolutely it is. I've got a very good idea in my head of where I want to go with it. So hopefully that's going to kind of keep me on track. Okay, I'm starting to lose control a little bit now of the paint, so I'm just going to push it through. And that was just 4 drops of paint, so that was kind of cool, right? That went a long way. I've got some water here, just want to push through the airbrush. Just going to clean it all out. I've had a couple of like heavy sprays, a couple of oversprays. Yeah, so I'm going to need to go in and clean that up, but I'll do that by brush. I'm going to be really focusing on that back piece today. That's what I'm really looking at in terms of the greys. The bit on the tail there was just to clean the brush out. So just going to purge, clean the old airbrush out. You can tell it's drying inside the airbrush a little bit because it's taking a long time to drain out, which means that the paint has kind of coated the inside of the airbrush, so therefore there's slightly less space for the paint to come out of, or whatever's in there. Darren has joined us. Hi Darren, nice to see you again. Haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're doing well, mate. Nice to see your name in the chat there. Are you working on anything tonight? Or are you just coming along for the social? I'm going to pop a little bit of cleaner through here just to help lift any paint that's kind of in the paint chamber in there. Okay, so that's cleaned up there quite nicely. Let's come back and have a look at the back of this bad boy. I'm going to grab a sip of tea. I think that's what I've been looking for all evening. Yum. Okay. So, looking at the back here, not really the tail, that was just me getting rid of some paint. I'm going to have a little play around with some greys now. I've got different colour, different types of greys, different shades of greys, and I'm going to see if I can try and blend them in a little bit. The colours that I normally use, all from Citadel. I've got Dawnstone Grey, not Dawnstone, sorry. Where's my other grey gone? Oh no, it's Dawnstone, beg your pardon, I was thinking it was the other way around. So I've got Dawnstone for the darker colour and Administratum Grey for the lighter. I thought their names were around the wrong way. So what I would normally do is just paint everything Dawnstone, put some black on it, highlight with Administratum Grey. What I've actually gone and done is I went and bought like other greys from their range. These ones are quite browny colours, so this is Skaven Blight Dinge, that's a great name, and Storm Vermin Fur. Often, I suppose you would often use those for like their Skaven colours. But I'm going to have a look at this one here, which is Eshin Grey, which I think is even darker than Dawnstone. So you can see I've got this, lights are bleaching it out. You can see that I've got this kind of trio of colours that work quite well together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Eshin Grey. Excuse me, I'm going to give it a good old waz on the Wazomatic. And yeah, I'm going to see if I can not blend it in with the black, because it's obviously dry and there's no wet blending here. Just see if I can make it look good. And as I've mixed it up, that's gone really dark. That's actually quite cool. That's gone quite nice. And then the Dawnstone, if I just want to give that a bit of a mix as well, just so I can get a better comparison of how they compare together once they're mixed. Darren says he's going to be doing a bit of weathering on his truck. Fantastic. You don't get all the opportunity to have a go on that, do you? So nice to be able to spend a little bit of time this evening on it. Really looking forward to seeing some update photos if you've got any. Okay, so that's Dawnstone, that's Eshin. 3 colours, one being a highlight, one being a shadow. That tea is good. Right, well, let's just pop this open. Brand new, never been opened before. I'm going to use my, I've got paint on me already. I'm going to be using my Kalinsky number 2 because it can go down to quite a point and can carry a good flow of paint in it. This is exactly what I've got this for, but I'm going to use my mixing brush first just to kind of pick some of that paint up out of the pot. Drop that in my palette. I'm not using a wet palette today. I haven't had a chance to clean it up and get it prepared today. Like I said, it was a bit of a rush getting everything sorted out. So yeah, just standard dry palette stuff today. I'm going to mix a drop of water into it, because these paints aren't my usual airbrush paints. These are Citadel brush paints, so they could do with just a touch of water in there, not too much. That looks like a pretty good consistency there. Okay. Might even be a bit too thin. Who knows? Right, now this is the process that is quite lengthy, so I'm going to be doing my very best to try and keep it as quick as I can, but without kind of losing any of the coolness of it, basically. So I'm just going to start on the edge, the faded edge of the black, so that I can kind of go either way with it, into the lighter grey and into the black there. Just going to start by putting a bit of a layer down, like a termination layer for both colours. And as I'm feathering it, I'm trying to keep the strokes going in the direction of the carapace, because I kind of want that to show through. Because as I kind of push into the colours, I want to really enhance those brush strokes to kind of get the lines that we find quite synonymous? Yeah, that's how you say it, isn't it? Synonymous with Tyranid carapaces. Synonymous? I'm sure that's how you say it. I'm having a real struggling to get my words out day. I can see now I've got like three good colours there. So I'm actually going to add a bit more water in it. I want to really thin this down so that as I put those brush strokes in that I was just saying about, that I get a really thin line. I'm going to try and break up the lines by having some bigger ones, some smaller ones. It's quite hard to pick up in the camera there, but you can just about see it. And I like to make sure that I get some bigger ones sort of following cracks and splits and whatever, just to enhance the sculpt that's already there. And it was this part of the process that was really good with the shader, because as you did this, it blended in. Picking up the edge there as I go. I'm not going to come any further back with this grey. I'm going to come in with a little bit of Dawnstone in a minute, neaten up that edge and do the same sort of thing there. And then I'll come in with a bit of Administratum grey and just hit the highlights. It's an effect that I really like that. That's good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Dawnstone here just to kind of go in on the inside of the armor plates in there. I might come in with a bit of black later on if I like how that looks, just to make that look shaded without overdoing the black. That's kind of cool. It's been a while since I've done this little technique, so it's just almost relearning how to do it and how to kind of hold or use the brush as I'm going. But I'll pick it up again, I'm sure, quite quickly. I really like using the Kolinsky brush. When I first got my airbrush, it was almost I was considering like trying to replace the brush entirely. I was just trying to find the painter in me. Like, I've been painting for years, I'm not any good, but I've been painting for a while, and it was just I kind of wanted to push myself, but I wanted to kind of do things faster at the same time, and I didn't really know what I was trying to do. And I remember when I was searching for the airbrush, I was trying to get advice from forums. I was saying, like, I'm looking to kind of replace the brush entirely. People were like, no, you don't want to be doing that. It's almost impossible to replace the brush entirely. And then I got the airbrush and I was having fun with it and doing what I do in it. And it was starting to kind of replace it a little bit, but I was starting to lose my quality. Because you can't replace the brush entirely. There's things that you have to do with it. And then I got the Kolinsky brush. And because it's such a good quality brush, it completely renewed my love for painting with brushes, because I'm starting to just do better, and it's easier to achieve things, and it's just more fun. So if you're thinking about getting one, or you're wondering what it's like, is it any better? It really is, and I really recommend you look into buying good brushes. There's still a market for cheaper brushes or poorer quality brushes or whatever, but do look into it. I think this Kolinsky brush was about 14-15 quid. I can't quite remember now. And I thought it's a bit much to be spending on a brush. I have no regrets. So if you're thinking, oh, I'd like to have a go, but it's a bit expensive, just put a few pounds aside a week. Or if you're any of my foreign viewers, a couple of whatever respective currency denominations aside every week, you'll get there. I just put a few quid away every now and then, and yeah. Okay, I'm just going to rinse that off my brush. I'm now going to move in to some Dawnstone. I've already given it a good waz on the Wazomatic. Love that phrase. And I get a big scoop of it there. I'm going to drop it into the next palette-y bit. My big thing with the Citadel pots is I often don't close them up properly. Ooh. The Trygon's such a big model. It's taking up a lot of my painting space around my lights and camera, so yeah, I'm struggling to find the elbow room. Let's have another bit of tea. That is yum. Okay, so I've got my Dawnstone Grey, which is my next level shade. And now this is the colour that the base colours were blocked in on. So I'm just trying to bring that darker grey, blending that in basically, and neating up everything as I go. So any bits of paint that I missed when I was spraying everything or painting everything in grey originally, or any kind of bits that have rubbed off of my hands or something like that, this is where I can neaten it up and blend it in with that darker band. You can see how that's all working now. It's gone really, really well. I think it's a bit much on the brush. Let's just take a bit that way. There we go. So again, I'm gonna just along the edge of that darker grey. Now the Dawnstone is the bit that I want to have the most of, so I'm actually going to invade that darker bit quite a bit, and then I'm going to bring it back towards the edge quite a bit more, and the Administratum Grey is just going to be kind of the edges, like the highlights and things. And the last time I did this, I found it quite useful to just get the basic brush strokes in, come back later when it's all dry, and then enhance those lines, those creases, etc. And tonight I think that might benefit me, because I've been in a bit of a rush, I've had a bit of a hyper day. I think that trying to do too much super detail stuff right now is probably going to be, it's not going to work out so well. Try and do a few bits and pieces. And I'm working in both directions wherever I'm finding it easier to move my brush in. Didn't have the best control of the airbrush as normal, so there's a lot of overspray. So I'm just kind of tidying that up as I go, really. Going back to bits that I've just painted. Once it's dry, it's drying that quick in here today in this warm room. So yeah, I'm able to kind of go over and make sure that the passes are quite thin. Able to make that colour quite opaque, which is nice. And where I've shaded the little crack or the split just here, quite hard to see because it's all in black and shadow. I'm just going to cut in close with the Dawnstone here. I don't want the black to be around the crack on the top level. There we go. It was just to fill the little split. It's looking quite good. What I could even do later on, just to help even like soften those grey like the blends where the greys meet, is I could even come back with like a glaze of a mid grey later on, and you know, kind of like marry them all together. I'm interested to see how it all dries before I start thinking about anything like that at the moment. This is very early days, but these are the thoughts that go through my mind. Okay, so that's one side done there. It's quite a stark contrast, so I'm just going to keep on going for now. Looking back over the Karn effects, sort of a stark contrast, but it's more between the mid-tone grey and the black, and I really liked that. And it blended automatically because the shader stayed dry. Sorry, stayed wet, which meant that I didn't have to worry about like mixing up other paints. I could just kind of get the two colours that I used and just blend them together. So far so good, working rather well. Might bring the black out a bit more, might bring the whole shaded set down a bit further. But again, just going to press on with my original design, or concept at least. Get the highlight on there and see how that kind of makes it all look. Jeff says, I've been painting this Napoleonic town. It's not fun anymore. Can work all day and it looks like I've done bugger all because there's so many of them. It can be a bit disheartening. Yeah, it's basically horde painting but with buildings. I feel your pain. Keep on going though, don't stop. You can't. You have to keep going. Kess says, yeah, I get that feeling at times. We all do, and that is the whole heart of the show. It's why I set it up. I paint Tyranids, I paint hordes. I've also got hordes of stuff to paint. So it's just about making sure that, you know, that I have a reason to always carve a couple of hours out of my week. This is what Kyle, my old co-host, used to say all those many months ago, is just keep on doing it. Have a reason to do it, or, you know, have a time allocated to it that you don't want to miss, and you'll start chipping away at it. You'll get there. Darren says, it will all be worth it in the end, Jeff. Keep plugging away. Yeah, absolutely it will be. Stafford says, I'm painting a Tigger 1 and another Yak Panther because you can't stop buying those tanks, can you? I feel like I've done you a disservice. I've made you spend all your hard-earned cash, mate. Sorry. It's a fun game, though. That little tank game. Jeff says it all comes good in the end. At least I'm being paid for it, so that does get you along a little bit. Yeah. It's gonna look amazing though. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's gonna be cool. Getting in and around these little chimney things is actually quite difficult. I'm really struggling with my lights. It's casting so much shine on things. You can tell when I'm concentrating, can't you? I shut up. And I know it's the same with you guys, because you're a chatty bunch in that live chat, and I know when you're all concentrating because you shut up, or you just don't like me. Please like me. Okay, because on that top plate here, I used a bit of black to get into those creases. I've got a bit of overspray around those little chips or splits or whatever you want to call them. So just bringing in a bit of watered down grey now, just to come in around the edges. And what that does is it just really identifies where that split is, and it leaves the interior of it rendered or shaded. There we go, and I can really now pick out the edge of that top piece of carapace. And now that I've got that blocked off grey there right up to the edges, it now enhances the black underneath. There's some good old-fashioned straight lines. And in a minute, obviously, I'll come back in with sort of Ministratum grey, which is my highlight colour. And then I'll just be highlighting that as well. Staff says, many? Because Jeff says, just how many tanks have you bought? Yeah, he's keeping the tank museum in pocket, I think. You can't even use that many in one go. Or can you? Right, okay. That it's not looking half bad at all. That dark grey is now kind of blending in a little bit with the black. I like it. I do feel that the starkness between the dark grey and the mid grey that I've got here is a little too much. So I might see if I can try and blend that in as I go, as I'm learning what I'm doing. But I'm just going to leave that for a minute because I'm quite keen to come in with the highlight just to see how it makes the whole thing look. So, wash the brush out. Yeah, it is looking cool. Just going to give it a bit of a mix up, bit of a waz on the Wazomatic. I'm going to grab some more tea while I'm at it. Yum. Oh, it's a brand new pot. I had to really push that one there. Lovely. Brand new paints. Just going to pick up a lump here, stick it in there. Oh, put my fingers in the paint. What an idiot. I can't be trusted. I genuinely can't. Just a touch of water. Mix that in. There we go. Okay. Has anyone looked at Flames of War rules and can have mass tank fights with that? I think yeah. They are quite complex games. Flames of War and Tanks is the other game that goes along with it. It's just called Tanks. They're very complex. What a tanker is great because it's actually quite simple. It has its depths for sure, but it's quite easy to pick up and just have quick fire fun with it, which is what we have been playing and really enjoying. I haven't played Flames of War. I see a lot of people talking about it. I kind of get it. I think the game Tanks is made by the same people and uses just the armored sections, just the tanks, hence the name, from the game Flames of War, which has troops and all sorts of formations and stuff in there. But what a tanker again is just tanks. So this is Administratum Grey. This is the lighter of my greys, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick out the edges. I'm just going to start here because it's easy to get to. I'm just going to pick out the edges here, and then once I kind of got this line tracing all the way around, including the chips and splits or whatever, is then I'll use that feathering line approach to enhance the sort of nature of the Tyranid Carapace. I'm trying to keep them quite narrow. Like a bit of edge highlighting, if you will. I've got an itchy palm. That's a bizarre place to have an itch. Right. Okay, wonder how much that's being picked up on the camera there. I could just about see it. I hope that you guys can. What I'm going to do is I like to start on the actual splits. They're quite good to give you sort of a line, like a direction to work with. So from this particular split here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get more of this highlight grey, and I'm going to take it from the top of this triangle from the split, and I'm just going to run the line up a bit more, and I'm just going to take it out to about here, and then I just neaten out the edges and kind of like widen the split, if you like, and it just makes it like the split isn't just there, that there's, you know, like a perish line, or, you know, that there gives the impression that the split goes on further than where the actual crack is. And it just gives that whole area of colour just a little bit more texture, a little bit more something to kind of look at and think about. And then from there I can do other smaller lines around it, and it just kind of really gives this whole area here some real body. That's quite a good one there. And now I'm going to come down to this one here. There's a slightly smaller one. There's a tiny little one there. Probably not going to do anything with that one. Just neaten up the edges of the actual split itself. Now from the very point right here, I'm just going to take it along. I'll take this one not so far because it's quite a smaller crack. But I suppose the size of it doesn't mean that it can't go all the way. Staff says that it's looking good. Thanks very much. Oh no, Jeff says that. Oh, cheers, mate. I'm mixing people up now. Neaten up the edges of that split. I'll take that line out a little bit more because I want it to be quite dominant, because it's a point of interest, I suppose. So there we go. The trick is to keep the line going narrower and narrower the further out I go. So if I go too thick at one point, I just go back and I make it wider down here. But if you make it too wide around the split, it looks like it's not a part of it anymore. So you've got to be really careful with that. And then I like to run a bit of an edge highlight just across the top of the ridge, but not all the way, because I'll use the gradient colours as I go. Like that, and that is not bad at all. That is really quite good. What I'll be doing in just a minute is I'll be like just adding some little flicks and things in there, and that should look quite cool. But it is that time already, could you believe? I've lost my mouse. There it is. It's that time already where we'll have a little break. So if you've been working hard away and you've got, like, you know, squinty little eyes or whatever, or you need to go stand up and stretch your legs, I ache today. Now is the time to go and do it, and I've absolutely murdered that cup of tea, so I might go make a fresh one. So, have a little music rest. So if you need to go and, you know, stretch up, this is the time to go and do it. But what you should definitely do, you should definitely go and change your paint water. Just change it, man. It's dirty. Have you noticed there's a loop on my intermission as well lately? Like, I'm working out so many bugs over the last few weeks, and that's the next one that I have to work on. Anyway, welcome back from the intermission. Sorry about the loop on the jazz music. Hope you had a good break. I was just having a look through Stafford's recent shopping list of all of his tanks. 4 Panzer IVs, Hetzer, an Elephant, Jagd Panzer IV, 2 Panthers, 2 Jagd Panthers, 2 Tiger 1s and a Tiger 2, and a Stug for the baddies. It's quite a bit in it. The good guys, just 10 Shermans and an M10. That's it. That's all you've got. Anyway, Staffer says, so a paint water change and a large Bailey's poured ready for part 2. I saw what you wrote, so I went and poured myself a beer rather than making a fresh cup of tea. So cheers, happy Friday. Or as my colleague likes to put, Friday. Happy Friday. Yeah, sorry. It doesn't go down well in the office either. Jeff says, yep, I did go to the workshop and get my paint water. It was not nice. Must remember to do it every day. That's why I say it, because yours is minging. Alright, and so's mine. Mine's been changed. Anyway, I've just put a little bit more paint back on the Trygon. I'm just working away now at the highlights again. Just trying to find the right consistency of the paint because I'm struggling there just a little bit. I might need to add a little bit more water just to kind of get things flowing, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, let's take you back over to the workbench and have a little look what we're doing. Ah, my camera stopped working. Well, that's great, isn't it? That's really what we wanted. Let's see if I can make that happen. Nope, doesn't want to do it. I'm going to come away from it. This is getting a bit impossible lately, isn't it? I'm having lots of problems with all my cameras. We're going to try again, see what happens. There it is. Don't know what was going on there. My apologies. Anyway, here's my Trygon. So, working on just this plate here at the moment. You can see that right up in there I've got the black that I started on, and that blends in really, really nicely with the dark grey here. That kind of blends in now with the sort of the base colour grey that I've got, and I'm just working on some highlights. The contrast between this mid grey, or this darker grey, and the highlight grey is a bit more obvious than the blend between the black and the dark grey there. And I wonder if using the ink shader would be different, if that would be more intense and you see more contrast between those ones. If I'm going to have like contrast, I want all the colours to really have the same sort of amount of contrast. I don't want you to be like struggling to see the black and the grey blend, but then actually have this one over here, it looks like white on black. That's quite stark. So I'm going to play around with it and kind of blend things in with filters and glazes and things and see how that plays around with it. On the this is the Carnifex. I've got a black in there, the mid grey, and then the highlight grey. I've gone quite heavy with the highlight grey, blended it in a little bit with, bring it in a shot, Danny, blended it in a little bit with a watered down, so a less opaque version, which is essentially doing a filter. And then when I was blending up here, it was mixing in with the ink shader, so it kind of created the illusion of an extra grey, or kind of just created an extra grey. So this is all blended together quite softly. The contrasts don't differ. There's nothing that really pops out too much. You can see that it goes from a gradient of light to dark. But here at the moment, it's quite cartoonish. That looks cool, but it's now about kind of probably going to bring the highlights up a bit higher. So then I'll have the highlight line starting from here, and it'll be quite pale at the edges. That's cool. And then I'll see if I can start playing with filters to kind of soften up the transitions a little bit and kind of merge them together, marry them all up a little bit. Just a touch of water in the brush just to dampen it all up a little bit, get that paint flowing, loading the brush up. Okay, so just going to try on this side here for now. If I come in from this side here, I'm working from a particular side and a direction, because when I put the paintbrush down I get a blob and then I'm trailing, and if I'm working from up here and then trailing towards the edge, my line's going to start off heavy and then get thick like a teardrop, but working in the wrong direction, and I don't want that. So I'm going to be working from here and going that way. I think, actually no, it's probably easy for me to go this way because I tend to stroke this way, so yes, that's better. It's on the other side that I go the other way. So from here, if I start bringing, rather than just blocking the colour out, I'm just going to actually just start tracing lines up like this, and it just makes the bottom of the carapace heavier in this colour. And at the moment, that's just a series of, you know, bristly looking lines. And if I start bringing that effect up a bit higher, that's cool, that's good. And then the bottom of it just becomes opaque, rather than being just lines, if that makes sense. Now I made this line here, so I'm going to trace that one up a bit further. Sort of there. Bit more focus on the bottom there, just to kind of block that in. There we go. That's cool. There we go, that's good. Oh, that was a good brush stroke. That was a good one. Nice when it works. Another good one there. That's nice. Just the paint's a bit dry, so it's not all flowing that easy. I'm really just kind of being quite persistent, bringing this split line up here a bit more. There we go. That looks really good. Now just a good old heavy focus on the bottom there again, just to make that really, really opaque down there. I put a bit more effort into this one line. I just want to kind of see this one through a little bit. Okay, I'm probably going to have to neaten that line. It's got like a fat wiggly bit right in the middle, which is a bit off-putting. So I might come back in with some Dawnstone, which is that second grey. And I might try and like neaten the edges of it up a little bit. But I like where it goes. Need to clean my brush out because it's getting a bit lumpy and draggy. Cool. Jeff says, do you use any kind of varnish protect your minis? Yeah, all the time. Just straight up matte for general all-purpose stuff. I always matte everything because paint just comes away. As where like varnishes tend to be like a proper resin. And yeah, it just helps because they're wargame species. They get handled so much, and that habit, and it is a habit of mine, has transferred over to my bigger builds, such as my 135th, where you're not really supposed to varnish them because it gets rid of weather effects and things like that. It takes away the sheen, the shines, and things like that on the different weathering effects. So yeah, basically I matte everything. Oh, I love me a golden ale. Now, if we look at the side here, where I first made that line in, that's just the edge highlight, if you like, with a couple of lines drawn in. It's quite underwhelming. But over to this side here, and what I've got now is an amount of greys that is better comparable to the other colours. So the black is quite close to the edge. I've got like a slightly larger dark grey area, quite a large base layer of grey, and then a similar sort of size of light grey to the dark grey. So now I'm not left this massive void here and this like kind of overly contrasted highlight line, if that makes sense. So this, because it's not just the stark line on the edge, is kind of given a false impression of more of more contrast, or a blended contrast, if you will. So if I was to add a filter over that, it might have a nice effect. That's really quite nice. I like that. I will neaten it up. I will come back in later on and play with it a bit more. Right now I'm going to get some more of that highlight grey, and I'm going to work along the rest of it and kind of just marry it all up and see what that whole plate looks like. And then I'm going to get some filters and play around with it a little bit, just kind of glaze over the top. Back with Administratum Grey, I didn't get an awful lot of it out earlier on, so I ran out quite quickly. Here we go, this is the highlight colour Administratum. The greys are really nice, the Citadel colours. Citadel do make good paints. The grey is just a really nice colour to work with, you can get a lot out of it. Let's wash my brush out. Okay. So I'm just gonna go over to this side over here, because then it's this whole left side done, and I can just kind of forget about it. And then I'll go to the other side of that one piece. Now this, this is a long process to do. I'm kind of relearning, and I'm also, because I haven't done it for such a long time, but I'm also like putting in new paints and things that I haven't done this particular style with before, and trying to explore how it works. That darker grey is a little bit of an anomaly. Haven't really used that in this sort of technique before, so just trying to find its place more than anything. But this is a large model. It has a lot of carapace. If it was Hormagaunts, I could probably do 5 or 6 of them in the show in this couple of hours. This is the sort of project that when you've got yourself half an hour, you come back in and go like, I'm just going to work on this color on this panel, and then you do it, and then you leave it, and then you come back tomorrow or whatever. I'm a little bit spoiled by this model because it was given to me in a box of other giant minis, hordes of other stuff by Leslie, who's not watching tonight. Thank you, Leslie, again. So I didn't go out and buy it, and I suppose that if you go out and buy it, you are more inclined, if you're the average person, to take a lot of time over it. Perhaps, maybe not. But like a lot of my collection, I've just got a massive amount of it, so I'm trying to find this margin between, speed and quality. And I do like the bigger models to have a little bit more time spent on them. Just picking out that edge. Making sure that piece of carapace gets all the love that the rest of it's had. And I'm just going to cut in close around the outside the chimney there. This is the highlight grey, so I'm going to go over that with some Dawnstone in a bit, but just making sure that the black's covered over nicely. And now, just like I did earlier, blocking the bottom. Just gentle feathering strokes. The less paint on the brush, the better, but I do need something on. There's not like a dry brush. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. Where the edge is here, it feels a bit odd to kind of go in with the highlight, so I might do something a bit more with the darker grey and bring that dark grey in around here a bit more. Don't really know how I'm going to achieve that yet, but it's something to think about. couple of longer streaks in there. That's really nice. Liking it. It's really good. That's really good. That's really cool. Like it. What I might do here is just like get the mid-tone grey, add a really thin glaze just over the final two colours, and then on the top just kind of like do, you know, a different colour glaze up there perhaps, and just see how they kind of work with each other. Right, let's get a bit more paint on the brush. Jeff says Games Workshop paints should be nice. They cost enough. I had a real shock when I needed some for a job. I'm used to using house paint tinted with acrylics. Yeah, you need to, because you paint such large areas, and it sounds like at the moment you're painting lots of large areas. Citadel paints are very good. They are very expensive, and that of course is a topic for much discussion and much frustrations, I think, throughout the community. I like them, but I make sure that I buy the ones that I like to use, that I know, and occasionally I will get like a new one. I like try out a different colour, see what happens. But yeah, beyond that, I won't go buying just any old random stuff just because they are expensive. Have we noticed that my subscribe banner has moved? Don't really know what's going on there. It's just doing its thing. It's now down at the bottom. It used to be at the top, but I don't know why it's doing that. There are some bugs. I'm trying to work through them. Oh, it's a live show, man. Deal with it. So I've got this little crack here, and I've made the split kind of go up. It does go off at a bit of an angle, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to try and not make the other sort of lines near it the same sort of size or length, just so it has a little bit more of a focus around it. Kind of it shows it off a bit more. Hey, there's a crack or a chip here. I'm going to come in with some Dawnstone and just neaten up around some of the heavy highlight brushwork that I've done. But it is starting to look really, really good. I'm really happy with that. Oh, hit the camera. Staff says, oh dear, that was a lot of Baileys. Maybe no more painting for me. yeah, I poured a gin like that the other day. As it turns out, I like gin. Who knew? But I'm one of those guys. I drink my gin neat. Flavoured gins. It's like petrol mixed with a fruit bowl. It's insane. It's a bit too much paint on the brush. Just get rid of that a little bit. There we go. That's better. And now I'm going to come in just at the edge, just do a little edge highlight all the way around. It's a little bit thick, so I'm going to add a bit of water on my brush. There we go, that's a bit better. I'm just going to work my way around up the edge of that carapace there. And now nice and gently make sure I'm in shot. I have to keep looking at the camera every now and then, which sometimes works or not. This is my life now. And on this side here I've got like one little crack here, so I'm just going to focus my efforts around here, just sort of highlight the edges nice and opaque, and then once I come up to the top there I'm just going to run and make it the first line to about there. There we go, that's cool, like that. And now feather in right around the bottom, the occasional little line. And around the other side there. And now I'm just hitting the same area over and over, just to make the areas that I want really opaque, really opaque. And then with the outside edges here, because it looks like everything kind of just goes in these straight brush lines and then it just goes whoop round a corner, I can actually try my best to make it look like the edge highlight here is a part of that same sort of feathering, if that makes sense. Works better on this side over here. You can see that I've actually gone quite up narrow on one side there. That looks really good. I'm really impressed with that. And I'm going to try and cut that highlight out around the chimney. It's a bit too much there. I think I'll just use Dawnstone for it, or try and blend it in a bit more. There we go. So yeah, that's that. What's that, about an hour and a half maybe? I want a bit more here. There we go. That's looking really good. I really like this bit over here. That's my favourite, I think. Some nice lines in there. Again, just going to hit the bottom a little bit now, just to add some opaqueness into it. Lovely. And now I'm just going to draw that line up a bit higher. There. Ruined it a little bit. So another really good thing about using a Kolinsky brush like this is doing edge highlights. You can actually use the very point of the brush. It's much easier to control. There's a lot of school to say that using the edge of the brush and run it along a raised edge to give you an edge highlight. It's actually very hard to control that, in my personal opinion. By running that across the top of an edge, it kind of presses down too much and paint tends to seep out, and you get quite a large area coming down over that ridge. So if I was to run it down here, for example, it would come down over the edges a bit further than I want it to. But with a decent brush, I can actually take it from one side and just use the very tip of it and just all the way around, and I get a very controlled, very precise edge highlight. Much easier than trying to do it the other way. Obviously what works for you works for you, and perhaps you've been doing it that way for ages, so don't change it now, or maybe have a go. I've been trying to do it like edge highlights with Space Marine models, but trying to like actually get the edge of the brush to do it, and I just suck at it. I'm rubbish, basically. So, what I'm gonna have a go at now is I'm just gonna see if I can like maybe mix up a little blend with a like a grey in the palette. I'm struggling to get my words out, but with a medium, just to see if I can make a glaze that might kind of blend all that together. because even though that's getting closer to the Carnifex, it's still a little different. It's, yeah, I don't know. So I'm just going to give it like the softest blend glaze. Get a big-ish dollop of medium. I'm just going to drop that in the palette here. There we go. I'm going to get a bit of Dawnstone, and literally just the tiniest amount. Where's it gone? There it is. I'm just going to pop that into my medium. That might be a bit too much. I was just the tiniest little dollop in there, so I'm going to get some more medium and really thin that out. And I can try this out by, I've got this little black patch here in my palette. I've got a little bit of my premix here. I'm just going to run it over, and I can see that that's still quite opaque. It's going to be easier to control for sure, but I want a bit more in there. And this is literally just playing around now. I don't know if this is what I want at all. I could be ruining those, like, that hour and a half that I've just done. Is that even enough that I've got? Here we go. That is much better. Okay, cool. So let's just give this a go and see what happens, eh? I'll just try it out on the base first. Okay, it has something to it. Let's give it a go. And now it's just a case. I'm going to try to get into the black, because I want the black to stay quite intense. But with this, with glazes, it's just now about keeping it up. And just applying it over and over and over again. And I'm just going to focus on this one side at the moment. You'll notice that I just painted the the paper there because I was trying to, like, remove it from the model, and I had a bit too much in the brush. And it's, yeah, added an ever so slight filter to my my highlight greys, blending it all a little bit together. I'm just trying now to get it into the darker colours without leaving little dollops. So I'm trying to start up high, up against the black there, and then brushing down like that. And then what I'm going to do later on is I'm going to come in with some black, and then I'm going to just enhance the black lines a little bit. I could even enhance my dark grey lines by bringing it into the mid grey. Yeah, see what I've done here is I've dolloped a little bit too much into this area and kind of ruined that dark grey effect. So I'm going to have to come back in with some dark grey, but that's okay, and kind of re-establish that area. What I should have been doing is probably starting from about here and then wiping down in one continuous line. But it has just softened the edge of that highlight. I don't know what I prefer more. So here's my highlights on this side, and then here's what's on this side. Let me know what you think. Does it work? I'm just going to leave that for a bit because I think that's interesting. I'll take some photographs of it. Hopefully it will dry by the end of the session. Let me just hit it with some air. I might just give it another pass actually, just to kind of further enhance it. Let's see if I start up high. I think that's quite nice actually. Yeah, I ruined it a little bit here, but actually over here it's quite nice. It's quite stark, quite heavy with the contrast. On this side, I think that's just a little bit more subtle, and I could really re-establish that black up the top, and really enhance it. What do you think? Interesting. Anyway, cool. Let's leave grey alone for a minute. Other things that I wanted to look at with this model was the tongue colour, the good old tongue issues that I was talking about last week. I'm not going to drone on about it this week. If you want to know what I was talking about with the tongue colours, go back and have a little look at last episode and just see what I was talking about. The colour is okay in it. I just find it a little underwhelming. Perhaps I just didn't do a very good job of it. But what I did do last week, and I haven't done anything with it since, thought it was quite nice to have a go at it here on the show, was I painted the tongue on this, which is just my colour testing model, which is just hideous. As we decided, the community, you guys decided that maybe trying a flesh colour with different stains and things on it. Now the sacks here, the pipes and the sacks on the guns, has got a gloss varnish over the same colour. So this is a flesh colour with a crimson shade over the top that I'm going to like darken up with some violet. And the idea was last week that we would make this the same as that. What I don't want to do is have the tongue the same colour as this. I want this to be its uniqueness. I want it to be like, oh, that looks gross. So I'm going to try and play around with some different colours and see where we go with this. Maybe I'll add a different flesh colour to it and then add some different stains to it, see where it goes. But it's quite an interesting colour, is flesh colour. Jeff says the new side is closer to the other bugs colours. What you mean, the side that I've just done the wash on? Yeah, I think you're right, because that's got more contrast. This is more blended, I think, personally. It's just softened that glaze down, just softened that highlight down a little bit, and I don't think I even need to go as high as the dark grey. I think that's too much blend there, so I might just do it over the highlights just to kind of soften it down a little bit. That's my opinion anyway. Yeah, oh, I love it, it's great fun. So I'm going to try and stay away from this skin colour here, and I could go for a bit of pale flesh, which is very pinky, much brighter, and I'll see if I can go with like a slightly pinkish wash shade. Really struggling with the words. Just going to give it a bit of a mix. Now I can make my own washes with glaze, and I've got some interesting purple colours. One of my favourites over here is hexed lichen. It's like a midnight purple colour. That could be quite good fun to make a wash out of. And I've got alien purple, which is like just a bit of a more muted purple colour. Those could be really good colours to make washes with. If I was to make this like a pale skin colour, I don't know where it's going to go, So let's give it a trash. A drash. Let's give it a drash. That's the word I was trying to say there. So I'm just going to pop this pale flesh colour in. Now I've got the original flesh colour on the tongue, which might be a good base colour for it. Hopefully it'll cover nice and quickly. But I do have the airbrush active today to help air dry a little bit. My compressor actually has a slight leak in it at the moment. So I'm going to be trying to problem solve that over the next few weeks. I did bung it up with a little bit of blue tack, and that's lasted for a while, but it's just started leaking today, so I've just turned the compressor off. It was just refilling every few minutes. Okay, so let's get this pink colour in here. That, as you can see, is much, much paler, but it is still in those sort of flesh tones. Bit too much paint on the brush there. Shove that brush right back in there and get that colour all the way back to that tongue. Think that having a really long tongue with a mouth full of sharp pointy teeth like that, you wouldn't stick it out so much, would you? What are you trying to do, mate? I think it might be a bit too pale, this colour. I was hoping it would be a bit more pinky, but it's not. I'll give it a quick blast with some air just to help dry it. What other flesh colours have I got? I've got my. This is the flesh colour. It's just called flesh, and it's like that almost childish skin pink colour that you will often associate with flesh. I've got elf skin tone, which I think is a slightly more mature version of that skin. So this might be a better colour to go in with. I don't know, but it might be a bit too close to the other skin colour. Oh, beer. A welcome flavour. Coming up to the end of the show, watch the screen and the camera change and ruin things now. My banner has changed. I don't know why I did that. The show's got demons. It always will have, you know. Right, so I think I'm gonna have a go with Alien Purple because it's the paler of the two colours I was just talking about. And I think with this pale pink that I've got on here, that the slightly paler of the two will be a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, just like I did with that grey, is I'm just going to make a quick glaze. I'm just going to put a little drop here, and I'm just basically going to add some medium to it. I've got a couple of mediums. I'm more inclined to use this technical one here, this contrast medium, because it's white. If you compare it to the Lumia medium, this one's clear, this one is white, and it does affect the colour of the paint when it goes in. And this might help make it paler, so it might make a really interesting tongue colour, who knows. So I'm just going to get a big old dollop of that. I'm going to get more because that's quite a bit of paint I've got in there. There we go. I'm just going to mix that in and just see where we go. I'm probably going to have to add more medium because that's not enough. It's a very rich colour. It's got some serious pigment to it. Oh, stay there, brush. I need to level my table, man. Right. I don't know if you can really see it on the camera very well, but no, it's very difficult to see. You can see that this side here is darker, and this side here is lighter, and that's because I kind of blended into the middle. So this has got more medium in it than this side has, and you can see that the white colour of the medium has made it go that much paler. It's really quite frustrating when you're trying to keep the original colour, but I'm not really trying to keep the original colour, I'm literally just experimenting and seeing where this goes. So let's see what it's like if I put it on this white bit here. Interesting. Okay. Quite like the purple colour, but I tell you what I don't like is the pale pink underneath. I'm not into that at all. I don't think that paleness is really what I was after. I might have probably had better luck staying with the original flesh colour. These are my dilemmas. This is what these are my problems I'm trying to work through at the moment. So I think I'll quickly absorb that paint off, try and dry it up, and then I'll go in with the other flesh colour and see what happens. And I'm just basically going to keep on working until I find a colour that I like. Jeff says now stain red. Tongues are pink red. Red in the mouth, going to light pink up on the tip. Okay, cool. Let me clear this colour off here. So I'll stay with that pink for now. Yeah, purple and pink didn't work at all. It's a shame because I find some colours that I really like that purple, for example. And I don't really have much use for it beyond, you know, experimenting and trying to find a reason for it. It'd be nice to be able to go, oh yeah, it really works on the tongue, but clearly it doesn't, and it just stood out too much from the rest of the scheme. It's almost white. Look at it. It's almost white. Okay, so let's go in with my crimson colour then. This is what I normally use on other things. That's what I used on this flesh tone here. I used it on an airbrush actually, so it has a completely different effect. Don't have to mix this up with a medium because it is a wash straight up, or shade as Citadel like to call it. I'm actually just going to hit it with some air in a minute because it's still quite wet there. Cool. Here we go. Let's get some crimson in there. I think it's just the paleness of it. It's not too bad. It may be that a darker flesh colour would have worked better with this on it, maybe. Because I am using crimson inside the mouth, I just wanted the tongue to stand out a bit more from it. That looks better than the purple anyway, doesn't it? Just as I think any colour would look okay when it's in high gloss. I've got hiccups, excuse me. Yeah, I think you're right. I think gloss will certainly enhance any colour that I put on there. I'll keep on experimenting, I'll keep on playing, you never know, I might find the right thing eventually. I think it needs to be darker at the back end there. So I'll just try and put a bit more in. I don't know why, it just feels like it, you know, should be a shadow thing. Just looking for that right colour. And this is what I quite like about painting, is that kind of exploration and go like, well, what works, what works. I prefer it when I actually find one and I'm not just sat there perpetually looking for a colour that doesn't exist. Like I finally found this colour. This really works for me. I really like this. It's very good. Certainly is better than the luminous greens that I was using for my weapon sack things. That just needs, this tongue just needs a bit more, just a bit more. Maybe a nice pale red rather than a pink, and then this colour over the top. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'll find something. I've got some burned flesh that might be an appropriate colour with this red over the top. So if I go right to the other end, burned flesh here. Let's have a little look at that. This might be too close to the browned yellows that I use on the skin, but with a red over the top, it might work quite well. So there's that colour there, just playing around with it now. And if I just give that some air on the actual palette itself, just to kind of help dry that up, I just want to see how it affects it on the palette. You see that that red actually on the model now has turned into a very much a tentacle pink colour. So it's okay. Do you know what? That's not bad. That's just on the palette, and it's always different on the model. But that's an interesting colour. Joe, I've got a few minutes left on the show. I'm gonna give it a go. Let me just hit this with the airbrush, dry it off. I'll pick the colour out with the brush again. It was never my intention to have a model that I used to practice my colours on. It was I didn't have any really big or any of the new big monsters from Tyranids when this particular model came out. So you know, I thought I'd buy it. It was on eBay. It was really cheap and affordable, and the person who sold it had it in this really awkward pose where it was standing upright and it was like this tall, and it looked awful. Sorry, fella, if you are watching this and you know who you are. But yeah, probably was the reason why I was getting rid of it. So I literally had to break the model to take it apart and drill parts of it out, and yeah, put it back together again. I started painting it, and I rushed it, and I knew I was rushing it, and I was like, oh, this is crap. I'll do other things between now and then. But I started to use it as a color palette, as a color tester, and that was the best thing I ever did, really, making sure that I had this. Again, it's going to come in with some air. So if you've got like a spare model like this to practice your color schemes on, it's I think you should. It's good if you're playing around with colours and things. Let's get a bit more air in that compressor. Stafford says that he's found a bucket. Panther, here I come. yeah, get that traditional bucket on that model. Okay, right, let's get that flesh colour out, because I quite liked it. Where is it? This is burned flesh. I'm just going to put a little drop in the bottom here. And this might be moving completely in the wrong direction, but it looks quite good on the palette. It's certainly not the colour I would have originally chosen for a tongue. It is a very peculiar colour, and it's definitely a colour that I would never have really been drawn to in any situation. It just so happens as part of my set that I bought. When I bought the airbrush, I was like, oh, I'll get a paint set to go with it. A good old range, something to explore, and there was quite a few flesh tones in there. Bought that set because I didn't know what colours I'd really want, what colours I'd really need, so I just thought I'd just get a load and play with them. It's a very peculiar colour, this. I suppose if you were to add it with other flesh colours and do some really good blends, it would make a very good sort of olive skinned sort of colour. But I'm not very good with skin colour, so I would struggle achieving it, I think. But I think this is the colour that you would start with. Let's just give that another coat. It's still not quite set yet, but I'm not really looking for good coverage. I just want it to be opaque, you know. Don't really care about losing that much detail on it. It's colours that I'm looking for. Okay, there we go. You actually see it kind of blends away with the yellow quite a bit, you know. Yeah. Right, again, just with some air from the airbrush. Okay, here's my crimson. Let's give this a try. I'll bring it back up into frame so you can see how it works. No, it's not that good. Just an interesting set of colours to play with. I'll keep on playing. Tongue has seen so many different colourways on it now that actually I should probably consider stripping the tongue down back to bare plastic and yeah, giving it a chance to show some detail again. Nah, I don't. It's closer for sure, but it does have a bloody stool effect to it. Jeff says, I do have a pot of pus green left if you need it. Yeah, actually I'm thinking about pus greens with crimsons over the top and seeing how that works in here. This colour was quite close. I feel like I'm closer to the mark now than I ever was. It's just a little too orangey, that colour, just a little too orangey. And the crimson doesn't really have any sort of brightness behind it to kind of make it look crimsony. It just looks a bit weird. The crimson shade or wash needs to have like a brighter colour behind it to really show off its readiness. And while it is cool, it isn't really showing off the tongue on these Tyranids that well. It looks a little, yeah. I will find something. I will find some colour somewhere. And it might be that, you know, it's not the crimson shade that goes over the top. Maybe it's a different colour entirely. What other flesh colours have I got here? Dwarf flesh, I think, might be a good colour. That's probably a mid. There's somewhere between the elf skin colour and that burned flesh colour. That might be more appropriate. Who knows? Jeff says it's not that bad. Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It kind of blends a little bit too much with the weapon sack thing, and I'm just trying to, I don't know, just trying to make everything have like its own sort of distinction, if you like. Anyway, I'm going to come away from here now because we're pretty much there at the end of the show. It's been a fun little evening exploring the blends here on the Trygon, looking up now under the light. I really do like that that filter just over that light grey. So I think that filter that I was playing around with is just going to be on that highlight colour. I think without it, it's just a little too stark on the contrast. It just helps soften it down a little bit, which is really cool. But I think I'm going to keep that dark grey established by brushstroke, or at least just a little bit of filter play, and then I'm going to make sure that black colour stays nice and intense. That's really what I'm trying to get from here. Some final comments going in though. Crimson is too dark, I think, says Jeff. Yeah, I think you're right, especially on that colour there. I've got some other colours to play with. Maybe I can make my own red washes, something a little bit more vibrant. I've got some fluorescent colours. I think that's a bit too much. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. What other reds have I got? I've got some contrast colours. I've got blood for the blood god, but that is a blood colour, so I want to stay away from that. I think is that actual a blood effect. Yeah. We will see. I've got some interesting colours to play with. I think I have to go through my whole range. Anyway, pretty much at the end of the show. So yeah, thanks for coming along and stopping in with me this evening, especially if you've stayed with me for the entire night while I got my words wrong. My camera suddenly stopped working again, despite solving that problem. More looping music. I feel like I've lost quality over recent months. Anyway, look, I've had a brilliant night nonetheless. I've started getting some work done on my Trygon. Really looking forward to getting those colours really honed in there. And then I'm going to start painting claws. Because, yeah, that'll give it some more things to look at. Anyway, I hope you've had a good night as well this evening. If you've been working on something, do please show me. I would love to see what it is that you're painting. So take some photographs, put them over up on Facebook at Easy8 on Facebook over there, so that I can have a look, you can have a look, and we can share all of our works. It'd be great. And I'll put some pictures up of my work as well, so that you can see it more closely in better resolution. However, until next week, I will see you soon. So until then, stay safe, be kind, and keep on painting. Take care for now. See you soon. Bye-bye. Need to find the perfect tongue colour. Looking for tongue in a pot.